I was gaslit for 10 plus years. You know, I didn't just go through the standard run of the mill. I was a fighter. Like, I kept going back. Like, I felt abandoned by the professionals. I'm like, this isn't it. This isn't it.
I normally like to grind the bean in the morning. So, I know, what a way to start, right?
That's 9 o'clock and you're talking about beans? As long as you're not flicking them at like 9 o'clock in the morning.
We are grinding the beans every morning. I'm a V60 pour over kind of guy. And yeah. So you don't drink coffee. What's that all about?
I don't drink. I haven't drunk. Never have been a coffee drinker, to be fair.
Wow.
I've always been a tea girl. I used to, like, my mum used to make me drink it when I was really young. And
She used to make you drink it. Your mum sounds like drink the tea.
Yeah. She probably was, to be fair.
Yeah, get hairs on your chest. I don't know if is that how your parents sounded? I don't know. My granddad was from Macduff.
Oh, that's way further north than us. That's like, we call that like fisherman talk.
Yeah, well, he was I've forgotten the word.
A fisherman?
Fishmonger. He was a fishmonger. I'll tell you what, a really sad story, but funny in a way that so my grandfather had Alzheimer's, right?
Oh,
And it was really sad, but I have to say, the reason I like that accent and the reason I feel I'm allowed to get away with it because my mum was born in Bounth in Scotland, and my granddad was from Macduff. And I say he was from Macduff. I just remember him always saying about Macduff. Anyway, he when he was really, really poorly, he was living with us in Devon. And there was this one time I was sitting there watching TV with my friend, and he was sat on the sofa, and he was just like, dep, 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 dep. And I was like, what the hell? And I just said, Granda, what are you talking about? And he went, you ought to watch your mouth if you know what's good for you. I don't know if that's how he sounded, but that's my accent impression, right? Anyway, moral of the story, because of the way Alzheimer's behaves, he was having this full-blown conversation like with this lad at work, and I think his brother who he used to work with, and he was living it out like it was real, and he was telling me off because I was one of his workers who was giving him lip, and I was like, oh my god, it's quite scary, right?
But is that not, like, realistically, putting aside that it was your granddad and he was obviously having this moment, isn't that a really fascinating thing that our brains are so powerful that we can literally flip a dime that quickly and put ourselves into a completely different reality? Like, people are talking about nowadays about AR, augmented reality. We don't need headphones and eyepieces to put ourselves in these positions because our brain is more than capable of doing this on a daily basis.
The only thing our brains aren't good at is the kickback. So that's why I wear the headphones, because otherwise when someone talks and it comes out my speakers and then it comes in there, the recording has a great way of just blocking it out, and which is annoying because it's the technology that silences us each, which is quite funny. Sarah, when I first talked about getting you on the podcast, I didn't realize you'd already sent me a message subliminally. So I've watched your TEDx a couple of times, right? And I watched it again this morning and I went, oh my fucking God, I've got to stop. I keep doing Scottish, so you're going to have to slap me for that one in a minute. Chaos is something I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
And you're on the Coffee, Chaos and Confidence podcast, but you don't drink coffee. So, hey, 1 out of 3 ain't bad, right? You've got confidence. I know you've got confidence because I mean, when I first met you, I was like, oh my God, she's like my people.
She's got balls. They're just on her chest.
Yeah, it's fine. Sarah, how did you end up doing a TEDx? Because I watched it. I was saying this, right? I categorically watched it 3 times now. One, I love it because it's such a great, can I call it a performance? Because I feel like it is a performance, because I feel like it's not, I don't know, it feels so natural the way it comes out of your mouth.
Standard TEDx talk, I think, is what the general consensus is from people that I got. Like, so let me do this really quick. I never.
You don't need to. There's no need to be quick on the podcast.
But I never wanted to be a TED talker. This is why I need to be really quick. I never wanted to be a TEDx speaker. I wanted to do the training. So up in Aberdeen, we have a really beautiful team of curators that support the TEDx license for
Mhm.
TEDx talks. And their whole thing is we're not going to just let any Joe blogs come on stage and chat shit. We want it to
Right.
have real purpose, passion, clarity, and a real story at the end of it. You know, we
Mhm.
don't just want people coming on and just chatting about their business and doing pitches and pish like that. It's no, right? But the training out with the TEDx costs thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds, not something that I could facilitate in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
Right. So I'm like, I really want to work with these guys. And I'd spoken to the creator, a wonderful guy called Derek. And I'd said to him, I really want to do the speaker training, but I can't afford it. Is there a way that we can do something? Is there something that I can do that will enable me to get this speaker training at a reduced cost that's going to be within my budget?
Mhm.
And he went, do a TED Talk. And I laughed. I was like, fuck off. I'm the biggest retarded introvert you've ever met. And I can say that with real clarity because I like the idea of spending time with people. I fucking hate it when I'm in it. Like it's overwhelm.
Do
It's
you know
chaos.
what? That I don't know what it was about that. I'm the biggest retarded introvert you've ever met. What a
Yeah.
great phrase. I mean, that's got to be a book title.
So I like the idea of doing these things. I love the idea of being in front of lots of people and sharing stories and experiences. But I'm so introverted, and let me get something straight. When it comes to being an extrovert and an introvert, we're not talking about what the general consensus of people think are extroverts and introverts, right? I see an introvert as I can be in any space, right? I can be anywhere. But as soon as I have to give my energy to lots of people at the same time, I become this recluse because it's too much,
Yeah.
right? This is how I see introverts. Extroverts can be out in the space with lots of people and giving lots of things and still have lots of things to give afterwards, right? I can be in that space. I'm dead for like 5 days afterwards. Like I need like duvets, rocks, no noise, no nothing. I just need to shut down because it's a lot, right? So this is what I mean. I like the idea of being in spaces because I love to serve people and I love to take care of people. But the aftermath of it is like a hangover with some serious amount of things that wouldn't be really pleasant along with it.
So
Anyway,
your that feeling is a bit like a night after with Alan from The Hangover, right? If you've seen that film.
yeah, I haven't, but I can imagine. It's like
Yeah.
that with lots of illegal drugs as well.
Yeah, that's exactly what that's all about.
So that's my story, right? So for me to go out and do a TED talk with lots of people and have to tell them something that's really quite intense for me, I was like, are you having a fucking joke? And he's like, you've got something about you. He's like, you've got an energy. He's like, you've got a story. And I think this would be amazing. And I'm like, yeah, I don't. Like, I really. And I just put it to bed. That was it. I was like, okay, I'm just not going to be able to facilitate the thing that I would love. And then I work with energy. So I'd written in one of my diaries, I think it's actually here. It was like 2 years ago. I'd written for the following year because I do a year in advance. I do 10 years in advance and then I reverse engineer it. It's one of the things that
Mhm.
I do with clients.
Yep.
I'd written that within quarter 3 of the following year, I was going to be, I was going to be an application for a TED talk. I don't know where this shit came from. I wrote it to my book. I closed my book. I put it away because that's what you do. And then that year, at the end of the year, there was an application for TED Talk people in Aberdeen to come out. And the whole overarching theme was identity. And I sat with it. I'm like, he said this was going to come. I just don't know. And the next thing I know, he'd messaged me and he's like, I hope you're applying for it. And I was like, I just don't think I've got a story that's big enough that's really going to give what this identity is in my head, what it needs. And he's like, just apply. He's like, there's only a small amount of people that get through. He's like, but if you get through, you'll get the training for free. Now you're speaking Scottish language. Free? I'm
I'm
in.
listening. I'm listening. Yeah.
He's like, "Look," he's like, "For me," he's like, "if we don't think that you have a story to give by the end of the training, we'll not let you on stage." He says,
Wow.
"In the same respect, if you don't think you've got a story, even though you've went through the training, or you're not ready, or you're not prepared, whatever capacity, you don't have to go through it." I'm like, "Okay." Like, I can wangle this, right? So I could do the training and then just call like total bluff at the end of it and be like, I'm out, right? Free training.
You had a
Yeah.
safety net.
Yeah. Right. So I was like, okay. And then I'm like, what am I going to talk about? Like, I don't think I'm like that amazing. I don't think I'm like that worthy of a kind of conversation, or let alone for people to listen to little old Scottish Sarah from like Northeast. And I thought, well, the one thing that kind of comes across quite often is my condition I live with, which is PMDD. So I was like, I'll just do a really basic video. And I didn't even know what I was doing. So I got ChatGPT to help me write out, because it had to be no longer than a 90-second space describing what the potential is that I was going to talk about, which is what I did. Packed it away, sent the form away, didn't think anything of it, right? Christmas that year came and went, the new year came, and then the spring started coming in and there was nothing. And I just thought, no news, that's it. Like I've just not, I've not kind of been in that space, or I've not been successful. I shit you not, Saturday morning, I'm busy cleaning my bathroom and I get a phone call and it's Derek on the phone. And I'm like, why do I know this man? Now, I'd not spoken to him, so out of sight, out of mind, completely forgotten who he was and what he did. I'm like,
Yeah.
why do I know that guy? And why is he phoning me? I'm like, hello? And he's like, hi, Sarah. I'm like, hiya, Derek. As soon as he said hello, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be a TED talker. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. And he's like, how are you? And I'm like, I'm good. And he's like, you sound a bit apprehensive. I'm like, tell me now, because I can't handle this. And I'm in the middle of cleaning a toilet. And he's like, you're in. I'm like, that felt like the longest pause in the world. I'm like, really? And he's like, honestly, you're in. I'm like, shut the front door. Like, fuck off. Like, if this is a game and you've got like neon loudspeaker and, and he's like, no, honestly, he's like, you're in. He's like, I think you've got a lot of work. He's like, but you have something about you, he says, that we all thought was really, really nice, was really just enthralling. You had us all. And I was like, okay. So fast forward, we eventually got together, and the first week that we got together, I was in the midst, the heist of my PMDD. So I sat there, I was shaking uncontrollably, I kept crying. And this wasn't because I was nervous and go back to that, I'm a retarded introvert. There's nothing to do with that. It was just I had got myself into such a tiz with my PMDD and the dates that I was meeting them, that this is the date that I normally cocoon myself. Like I literally shut the world out and I need a day or two to just not be in a space with anyone. And I'm having to sit there in front of people that I've never met. I'm going to have to discuss things that realistically are really raw right now. This isn't a scab. This is an open wound. And I'm going to have to try and explain to these people that I have got no clue how they're going to take it, what the fuck's going on.
Mhm.
So I managed to do it. Everyone wrote down like, I don't even know what they were writing down. My head was like off in Homer land. I've got no clue what's going on, right? So I'm like, I can't even write anything down because I've no idea. So everyone's up there and they're reading off the script that they've written, like who they are and why they're here and things like that. I took up my book. It's blank, right? Took up my book and I'm like, at least it looks like I've done something, right? I wrote my name at the top. That was it. Sarah Malone. That was all I wrote. And I looked at it and I looked at everyone else and I threw it to the ground and I went, well, this is a pointless exercise because I've wrote nothing. The reason I'm here is because right now I am living proof that you can still do the things that you need to do, even though inside you are like melted marshmallow goo. And I don't mean that in a nice way. I mean that horrible gunky stuff that sticks to everything and you can't even get it off because it's like, it's a hot mess. I was like, the reason I'm here is because I live with something called PMDD. And I was like, I need people to understand that as I'm crying right now, this isn't because I'm nervous. It's not because I'm scared. It's because my PMDD is causing complete chaos for me. I was like, but people need to see that just because this is happening, it doesn't mean that you need to feel anything. I don't want you feeling sorry for me. I don't want you then judging me and making opinions of me, which you're already doing anyway. I was like, but you need to see the rawness that sometimes some people just don't have their shit together no matter how much things they put in place. And that was it. I sat down.
Was that not like a weird inner blessing in disguise? Because like you had nothing on that pad, right? But what was there was like the absolute they talk about not having a negative without a positive and so forth, but like you took that negative and just turned it into a massive positive, right?
But because I needed people to understand that on the outside, we already prejudge people. So if you're happy and you look smiley, oh, you must be having a great life. If you look miserable and fed up, oh, you must be in the dooms and glooms. Is there anything I can do for you? You've prejudged them. You do
Yeah.
it. We've been
Yeah.
taught. We have been programmed that we automatically prejudge people based on the aesthetics. We do it with books, with cars, with people, everything, right? And I needed people to understand that just because I was standing there absolutely bawling my eyes out, I wasn't upset, I wasn't scared, I wasn't angry. This is just a reaction that my body does that I have no control over. And now I'm in a space where I allow it to happen because I understand the aftermath, if I refuse to allow this space to come, is going to be tenfold. Yeah. What happened after that was 16 weeks of absolute chaos because 3 days before the second meeting, which was a week later, I was involved in a car accident. So the car accident in the car was mine. That
So
was
can
I
I
was
just say what was going to be my very first question to you, right? I still, I watched it 3 times. I'm still like, is that a metaphorical car crash? There was a picture of a car in the background. Is she talking about emotionally she had a car crash because of the PMDD and the menstrual cup bit? Even I listened to it this morning, and she's just taken my daughter down to the local town. They've gone for a little picnic and stuff, because it's half term. Um, and my wife was like, "What did she say?" And I went, "Menstrual cup." She went, "I thought that's what she said." But honestly, when I watched it, I watched it, like I say, I watched it 3 times. I'm like, was that actually a car crash? So sorry, carry on. Now I know.
so literally 3 days before my second weekend, I was involved in my car accident. I wrote my car off. Um, it was horrific. And it it literally is the story of my life. Like without, the metaphoric, yes, chaos is something I'm familiar with. The reality of it, yes, that was my car, my pride and joy written off. And not only did I write it off, but I walked away from the accident pretty much unscathed.
Wow.
Yeah. Like if you look at the actual photo of it, like I'm like the paramedics, they literally, the story at the start was they had to put me in this freaking cocoon thing and strap me all in because the way that the impact had happened, they were like, we're not sure if you should be standing right now. Like you need to be going to the hospital. We need
Mhm.
to get you over. We're scared that you have a spinal injury, but your adrenaline is stopping us from being able to assess you. So that is the truth. Literally, week 2, TEDx, I was in what they class as a near fatal car accident and I walked away from it. I went into my
Wow.
meeting strapped up. So I had straps all in my midriff, in my core. I had freaking tubey grips on my knees. I had straps on my ankle. I couldn't walk, but I was like, my brain was like, you need to show up for this meeting. You need to show up because people need to see that this is your story. This is what happens. And you just keep going. Like you're like a freaking machine. So we went in and we had to have this basic talk of what we were going to do, how we were going to structure what it was we were going to say. And lots of them were kind of like talking about bits and pieces and I guess level surface. They weren't talking about any depth. And I had says the first part that which is my TED talk as it is. It was I basically turned around and told everyone the journey that I'd been on in my car crash and then went to the hospital and then they came back with a scan. That scan that I have is my scan of my cup in the fucking CT scan. And they were like, what the hell is this? They thought some sort of foreign object had got lodged in my spine or something, right?
Well, we know why she crashed.
Yeah, but this is the thing, like, I turned around and told them, like, this whole first part of my story, this was it, and they all burst out laughing, they were like, "We cannot believe that you've went through having an absolute what we would class as a mental breakdown last week, a car accident, still being able to show up and make light of the chaos that you live in," and I'm like, "But chaos is my familiar. And I was like, this is the thing. People are, and this is the general consensus. People are so like, oh, let's take you to calm and clear and confident and understanding and knowing your journey. No, like I'm like creating chaos. Let's grow in the messy, because sometimes people just don't get the shit they need to by being all in peace. Like they need to
Mhm.
be in the absolute shitstorm of tension in order for their body to go, this is what we've always done. But what about this? There's this gentle whisper of something completely outside of the box. And this is what I live with,
Yeah.
right? So fast forward 14 weeks. Everyone had this beautiful story written out. All I had was my intro. I don't work well given time, right? I work well under pressure. We're 2 weeks out from standing on stage, and all I have is my intro. Derek came into this very space, right? And I was on my PMDD week. And he's like, I want you to stand up and I want you just to tell me your story. And I went, I can't. I was like, I have nothing in my head. I was like, I've got loads of different bits. Like my whole wall here was full of post-it notes. All the bits and the elements that I thought were important or that needed to be discussed or needed some level added to it, but none that made sense. And I says to him, I was like, I can't. I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. And he made me stand up and just waffle for 12 minutes. And he turned around and says to me, he's like, look, Sarah, out of everyone, you are the one that I'm worried about the most. He says, it's not about not knowing that you can't do it. He's like, but it's the pressure that you're under and that you're putting yourself under with everything else that's going on. He's like, because you absolutely live in chaos. He's like, I need you to trust me if I make a decision. And I responded with something that I think still hits him quite hard. I went, I don't trust anyone. I was like, but I'm going to ask you to do something for me. I was like, you need to trust me. And he looked at me,
Ooh.
heartbroken, because I couldn't trust him, but I was asking him to do something for me. And he says, look, if I need to pull you, he's like, I'm going to do it. He says, I will let you know. He's like, but he says, tomorrow you are meeting in front of, and it was like all the sponsors and all the people that had contributed towards, this whole event. You're going to be in front of these people. And he says, you have to tell them 12 minutes your story. And I was like, I'll do it. He's like, but you've got nothing. And I'm like, you don't need to worry about that. I think, like I said to you, I was like, you just need to trust me. Right. So he left. I cried. I got angry with myself. I ripped all my post-it notes off the wall and I just started typing. I typed loads, information, bits and pieces, all the elements. And then I got on a call with my ops manager and I says, look, I need you to help me because she's the grounding. Like she'll be like, no, that's too much words, or no, take that out and just have that sentence. Like that's enough. And we sat for 2 hours through my frustration and my upset and my fear and all the horrible shit. I sat with it all, typed out this sort of story and was like, it's just going to have to do. Like, it's not perfect, but I'm not perfect. I'm like, it's never going to be this beautiful journey that people go on. It's going to be messy. It's going to be prolific. It's going to be questions that people are going to be like, sorry, what? But that's me. That's my whole life. And I went in the next day and I stood in front of them all and spoke my truth. And every single one of them couldn't even clap at the end because their jaws were just on the deck. They were just like, sorry, what? And I went away and I thought, fuck, I fucked up. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I've go off the mark. Like, they're literally going to kick me off. But my head was going, but you've done the speaker training. You've got what you wanted out of this. So regardless if your truth and your story doesn't align with them, you've done what you needed to do to prove that you had went through the training proficiently.
Yeah.
And that was your top goal. And I went away and at the end, everyone had gone on and it was just the creators and stuff. And they turned around and they were giving sort of feedback to everyone, you did a really amazing job. We just need to clean this up, or we need this, or we need that, or this, or whatever it was. And they came to me and they just turned around and they both went, where the fuck did that come from? And I'm like, is that a good fuck or a bad fuck?
Yeah.
I'm on the phone to you. And they're like, Sarah, whatever you did, whatever happened. And then Derek piped up and went, look, I have to say this. This was nothing to do with me because I saw her yesterday and she had nothing. She had absolutely nothing. You know, we were actually concerned over her. Out of the whole journey, they both turned around, the two creators turned around and says to me, they're like, you are the one that we worry about the most because of everything that you're doing and everything that you're going through and everything you're still going through, right? And I was like, okay, this is good, right? And they're like, honestly, every single person was absolutely flabbergasted over your story. They had so many questions. And they're like, your whole purpose, because I'd said right at the start, I was like, the only thing I want people to do is ask a question. It's the reason why I put it at the end of my talk. I want people to ask, what the fuck can I do to help? Like, what just happened there? Like, I need to do something. Yeah. So transpires, we're in the freaking the place that we're doing the talk, and I stand on the stage and I'm like, shit. I'm like 2 days out from PMDD hell, and we have got 2 days before this talk is going live, and we're gonna have to present it to 4, 5, 600 people that I've got no freaking clue who they are. Shit. And they both turn on and says to me, they're like, are you gonna be able to do this? And I went, do you want me to tell you what you want to hear, or do you want my truth? And they went, we want your truth. And I went, I don't know. I have no idea, as I can't predict that type of space because I can't predict what my PMDD will enforce in me. I was like, but what I can do is tell you that I will try my damn hardest to do what it is that you guys need me to do, which is to show up.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
Where was
Out of it,
your when you say like I just like needed to show up, like where's the fire coming from you there? Because like they're like, you know, often we all talk about fight and flight, and like it sounds like there's this like flight moment coming in, but like there's this fuck off fight door coming in. Where does that come from?
limiting beliefs, my inner child, the very story that we tend to run from and the very story that we tend to think keeps us safe. I used it, I weaponized it, and created a superpower out of it because we don't get taught that.
So you
But man,
basically were real life Batman then, because Batman was shit scared of bats.
yeah, pretty, pretty much, pretty much. Um, my biggest story as a kid was being rejected and abandoned. It wasn't all as heavy as that kind of feels with those words, but there was lots of elements, and I spoke to lots of people, and they've all turned around and said the same thing. They're like, "Shit, your story is heavy as a child, right?" And I'm like, "Yep." And they're like, "How?" And I'm like, it's just what it is. Like, I don't blame, there's no blame, no shame, no guilt, no nothing about where I was and why it happened. I
Mhm.
understand the reasons why, and it's not that. It's that was my story, you
Yeah, yeah.
know? I was known as a suitcase kid as a kid for quite a few years, you know? There's lots of elements. And when I first started, before I did the work that I do now, before I would constantly live in that panic, that fear. Nobody wanted me. So I'd overcompensate. I'd make sure that everyone wanted me. You know, I was the most desirable person to be around. I was charismatic. I was energetic. I had
Life
this,
and soul of the room.
yeah, yeah, because I had to make sure that I had people that were going to make me feel good because I was making them feel good because I didn't want to feel abandoned and rejected.
And that's also
But
like protecting your own energy in that sense as well, isn't it? Right?
because that's what we do. We write our own narrative and then we look for the validation of it. You know, like I could turn around and say to you today, you've probably not seen a white car in so long, but I can guarantee you, and anyone that's listening right now, they'll now see white cars all the time and they'll instantly go back to this moment and go, Jesus shit, she was right. Because we only see the things that we're telling ourselves. So we only validate the things that we're aware of. And the things that we're aware of all come from the past, not from the
Funny,
present.
I've talked about this recently. Do you remember watching Castaway, the film? You ever watched the film Castaway with Tom Hanks?
Now,
It was like, I swear we definitely, I thought we were really similar. And there's two films now you've not seen. I can't believe it.
there's
But
no
so the
one
film
who
Castaway was one of my favorite films. And the reason I liked it because I saw, um, one, I got to watch it with my dad, which was weird because I never really watched films with my dad, but it was one of those films that I just remember watching with my dad. There was three things that we used to watch with my dad would be John Wilson fishing, which I'm quite anti-fishing these days. Um, uh, the film Castaway, I remember watching with him, and also bowling. You know, like green
green.
bowls. Yeah,
Green.
like yeah. I don't know why we used to watch that, but anyway. So in the film Castaway, what I used to love about it was the fact that he is completely on his own, and like I just think it's phenomenal acting because like you know he's just been stranded on this island. Um, But the thing is, which we would link to what we were saying, I was watching it going, "Oh, FedEx? They don't even have FedEx in the UK. I swear to fucking God, the next day I must have seen 4 FedEx lorries. And I remember at the time, so I must have been what, 15, 16 years old when that film came out. I was like, fuck me, they're everywhere. Weird, isn't it? You don't know it until you think about it.
We only know what we know based from what we've done or been on, which is past tense. We don't
Mhm.
we don't create from the present or the future, generally speaking. We try to, you
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
people manifestation and law of attraction, but there's key elements missing from it. But what we tend to do is come from that unconscious bias of what we know from the past is what we know. So that is what we're doing. We're basing everything from past experience.
I just want to put something out there that if anyone's listening to this podcast right now and does see a clown riding a donkey in the next 48 hours, please put a comment in below because I want to put that in your mind. All right.
Because you know what's going to happen? All the towns are going to have circuses come.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I digress, but you carry on. What
But yeah, so basically I ended up doing the TED Talk, and the TED Talk is what you see. And as far as I'm led to believe, there was only me and one other, or no, there was two others that didn't have to do a stop and retake.
Oh wow, do they sometimes make them
Th- So
stop?
so if because obviously they're recording it for putting it on to TED Talk as well. So if they haven't been able to get the angle that they wanted, or if there's a part that's been missed out, or they were doing a different shot and they need to do it from a different angle because somebody had like a visionary thing to be using, So yeah, there was a few people that had to go back and do some
Oh
retakes.
wow.
Yeah, it's like a total production. Where I was like, I'm just going in, I'm gonna say my piece, and then I'm gonna go home. Like, right?
Yeah, they were like, we can't retake this for Sarah. There's no fucking way.
Yeah. But yeah, so the thing that you see is that's the raw. And literally 2 seconds before I went out, I was in the room waiting, been all mic'd up and all the rest of it. And I'm like, I'm literally gonna break down in tears. I'm like gonna, like the first parts that you hear, the reason I kept my eyes closed is because I couldn't open them because if I opened them, it was
But
gonna all
even that, Sarah, even that is fucking beautiful because it's like you're I don't know what it is. It's like we went into your world when your eyes were closed. Like I felt everything that you said in those first few moments. And the fact that your eyes were closed, I just think like I watched it and was like, oh my God, she's got me. And they always talk about eye contact, right? But like we were listening. Then
come.
like I've talked to someone about this recently, but like you could have said the alphabet and the way you walked out on stage, we would have been like, fucking hell, LMNOP. Do you know what I mean? Like it was just like, oh my God, like what is this woman talking about? Because I'm listening. So yeah, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the podcast, because if I didn't like it, I'd probably like, do you know what, Sarah? I didn't fucking like it.
Let's talk about something else.
Yeah.
Let's talk about white cars and clowns on donkeys.
So from that experience then, is it something you reckon you would do something like that again?
Never.
I mean, don't think about the answer. I mean, you take your time.
Still stand true and never wanted to be a TED Talk. Yes, I wanted to stand up and be able to speak and allow people to really see a version of an illness or a disease or what I call a management of something that generally people just don't get. And it's so still misdiagnosed. Like I was gaslit for 10 plus years. I didn't just go through the standard run of the mill. I was a fighter. Like I kept going back. Like I felt
Mhm.
abandoned by the professionals. I'm like, this isn't it. This isn't it. Whereas there's some people that will just go, okay, this is it. And like, this is just what I've got to deal with.
Mhm.
And I wanted people to really understand, not just from a female part, if they'd felt this way and been gaslit or been, misdiagnosed or been shunned as just it's PMS, sort your shit out sort of thing. But also on the other spectrum, for men to really understand, look, your missus isn't literally trying to gouge your eyes out with a shitty spoon for shits and giggles. Like her brain is actually telling her right now that this is her reality and this is what she needs to do in order for her to feel better. It's not real. But
Mhm.
her brain has caused so much dysfunction that this is how frustrated she feels. So It
Yeah.
was trying to have that double entendre for both sides to really start having that eye-opening experience of, "Shit, like, I have people in my world that do this quite regularly." They're not assholes, they're perhaps going through some serious chaos, and I've just never acknowledged it, you know? And then the like side, I'm this person, like, you're talking to me, this is how I feel every freaking month, like, what the fuck?
I think there's some I had Claire on who we were talking about menopause a few weeks back, and we were just talking about the power of kind of, you know, your partner understanding, you know, when it comes to menopause, perimenopause, PMT, you fucking name it. And I, you know, I've got a quite a I love fitness, and I've got quite a few people that I follow in the fitness world, and I've noticed a bit of a shift in the last few years of men who are PTs kind of openly talking about being open and a bit more about understanding female cycles and everything like that. Because without being funny, even as a coach, you want to know that you can support them in the best way. And I think as a partner, I think, you know, PMDD, is that right? PMDD, menopause, like there's so much. I mean, don't get me wrong, boys, we got away fucking lightly. Do you know what I mean? And not meant to be funny. The worst thing that happens to us is we get kicked in the nuts. Um, like I genuinely have seen my wife go through. We went through IVF and fertility treatment, and she's got had her own hormone issues that we've gone through. I've seen her go through the run of the mill. And I know for a fact that we're only here now because I've had to show up. And I think so many men need to understand, men, partners, whatever, that they want to need to show up and realize that actually need to be sympathetic to like what's going on. Because what I hear quite a lot is it's like, oh, it's time in a month. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, it's shit. Do you know what I mean?
I'm gonna say something that all your listeners, and maybe even you, it might be a bit like sucking eggs, but it might hit a little bit different. It's all about communication. It's not about listening to just listen to what they're saying. It's about being able to listen and respond with curiosity. Because the problem that we have is it's again, we've prejudged somebody's hormonal. Oh, they're on their period. They're
On the
gonna
blob.
be yeah, or they're this. Oh, that's what like my other half. He didn't understand perimenopause. He does now because he's now had to live it firsthand.
It's not a Nando sauce, just so everyone knows.
But perimenopause with PMDD is a whole other ball game of shits and giggles, you know, because you now you the thing that you thought you were managing because you were able to track it systematically with symptoms and calendars and things like that. Perimenopause just comes in and just goes, I see your control and I go, fuck you. You've got no idea what's coming. You've no idea. And the intensity that it brings with some of the months of periods and menstrual cycles is just, it's unfathomable. You
Yeah.
know, for me, the biggest thing is it's communication. When I
Yeah.
first was diagnosed with my condition, now regardless, this can be for anything, whether it's for guys going through, you know, something with their nether regions and lumps and bumps or curious things, or whether it's women that's going through things that are deemed as inverted brackets standard. So what's your problem? We
Mhm.
need to communicate, and we need to communicate to be able to then respond curiously, you know, rather than going, oh, it's just or whatever, or it's okay. So how does that affect you? Why is that the thing that you're giving me the information right now? I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with this. Can you help me understand what you're trying to get a point across
Mhm.
or what you're trying to say to me? You know, get curious. Don't just become like this next person of it's just because, so that makes it okay.
Has that
Mm.
because cause you've got children, haven't you?
Also do.
We've got K3, if I remember rightly, right? Yeah, okay, cool. So with my own daughter, from going through what I've gone through with my wife and everything we've gone through, when it came to like her starting her cycles and periods and so forth, I was very open to the point of like we'll talk about it, you know. And my I have mentioned this before, so apologies to anyone who's hearing me say the same story. But my mum said, "Oh, tell her grandma's thinking about her. Oh, poor thing." I was like, "Fuck, poor thing. I'm going to tell her it's fucking brilliant. You've started your cycle. Amazing for you. Let's embrace it because it's almost that whole thing of like, you know, we talk about limiting beliefs, right? But it is like, well, if I say to her, oh, poor thing, I can be sympathetic and empathetic towards her, but like, It's how you deal with it, right? And what happens the second she comes on now? Dad, the pea's on. I'm like, cool. Do you want me to get the beanbag? She's like, no, I'm all right. But do you know what I mean? I mean, she tried to put the I've got those wheat bags. She put it in the microwave for 12 minutes.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm
I'm
like,
glad.
don't put that on your body.
Yeah, no, our house, I've always brought my kids up as an open, we class ourselves as an open house. And sometimes that means that people can get offended or find that the things that we discuss, excuse me, discuss or
That was
share.
the best hiccup ever. I really hope that carries on now. I'm really sorry, but hiccuping is hilarious, isn't it?
Horrible. Um, but yeah, sometimes people can find them quite grotesque because we are quite open, and that can be for anything. So talking about what we class as just general everyday somatics of our bodies, periods, menstrual cycles, having hard-ons, all these weird and wonderful things. We discuss them so we don't feel embarrassed by them and that we're proud that that's our body telling us something. Whether it's good or bad, it's telling us something. Same with pain and hurt and feelings and emotions. There's not a single emotion that my child will go through that is deemed as inappropriate. If they're having a mental breakdown or they're having a temper tantrum, they're doing it because their body's dysregulated. So what's going
Yeah.
on? If they don't know, right, do you want a minute just to sit in that space and go through that? Because that's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
As
yeah.
long as you're not acting out and having a go at me because you're looking to regulate yourself, which they don't. They literally just have a screaming match and then it's it. They need to go and sit and be with it. And then they can come and say to me, it's because I felt in whatever language they need to use. Right through to really deep things like, illnesses, like the big C's and things like that. Like I've got three
Yeah,
children
no one should talk about Christmas too early.
ranging from 5 right through to 18 years old. And we have such a large spectrum of things, but all my children know that I have PMDD. They don't fully understand it in the level that I do because they've never had to live through it, but they understand that when this happens, mum gets frustrated or mum feels really tired or mum can really, become really impatient. And it doesn't mean that she doesn't love us. It's just that she's got a lot going on and she's spinning a lot of plates or she's lacking in a cup full of energy and we maybe need to do some. But this is taking years for me to be able to communicate this with my kids because I didn't even know.
No, no, totally.
My eldest, she's showing signs of struggling with her menstrual cycles, but we talk about it.
Yeah.
What's going on? Why is this happening? What do you think that you could do that would maybe help this? Because we've spoken about this, we maybe need to reaffirm it because we live in a house with spiciness as well, which just adds like a little tornado just for fun. There's forgetfulness, there's not remembering, there's not looking after yourself the way that you should do because you're already in an ADHD coma or, like these are the things that we have, the traits that we live in. And I think, again, that just adds to my chaos. But I think if I didn't have the chaos, it wouldn't keep me disciplined. It wouldn't keep me focused on, right, this. I don't have to do this. I have to-do lists because it makes me feel like I've got a challenge. And if I've got a
I've
challenge,
stolen your to-do list because when you said about that a couple of weeks ago, I was like, oh my God,
it
so good.
on it, doesn't it? When it becomes a to-do list, it's not like, oh, I've got to do this. It's like, ooh, I wonder how many I could get done in the next 2 hours. Like it just shifts that paradigm of I don't want to do this to I wonder how much I can do of this.
Yeah, and you know what? I know. Oh, you did change your name back to Sarah Malone. You changed it. You had it to Anchor Andy at the very start. Um, um, so when you say about the to-do list and we're talking about anchors, I love working with anchors. But that would be great, wouldn't it? Imagine if you had a little button that when you got a task done, you went, ta-da! Like, oh, suddenly you press the thing and like almost the whole house would be like, oh, mum's done another good thing. Like,
I think all houses should have those buttons that you get in some of the shops that's
yeah.
like smiley face. How was your experience today? You get a smiley face or an upset face. I think we should have them in every household. Yeah. So you
I
can
haven't got my planner in front of me, but I created my own planner,
you
and
totally utilize it, couldn't you?
it's got smiley faces, and each at the beginning you put how you at the end of the day you put what smiley face you are, and that smiley face is also what emotion you're feeling, so that you can then identify where you feel. And I'll do the same with my daughter, and I'll tell you about this on another occasion properly. But it resulted in me doing her planner her little journal that she was using, and she's 13. And that resulted in her calling Childline. because she was open to say how she was feeling. It was about our dog passing away, and we gave her the space to say, I've talked to mummy, I've talked to daddy. I'm open to like how I feel, but I need some confirmation from someone else. And school have talked to me about childline. And my first thought was, oh my God, I feel like a horrendous parent. But actually, I got to sit with her and acknowledge her in her, hang on, holds up the great mug, in her greatness, and actually reach out to someone else who actually weirdly, because they don't really want to speak to the adult, so she didn't really want to speak on the phone, and it was all because of her circling her emotion for that day.
Wow.
And she then talked about it was actually because of the passing of our dog, and she was really, really upset. But what was really amazing is they asked very similar questions than I'd asked her. But do you know what? It was just another viewpoint for her. And it gave her that ability to just be like, actually, yeah, this is how I feel. Yeah, it was really powerful. I'm not gonna lie, as a parent, when your child says, Mom, Dad, I want to bring childline, you're like, oh my God, what but it wasn't. It was the support they gave her was phenomenal. So
But
I
it's
think that's being open with the emotions, right?
it goes back to that same thing. We look for external validation and acknowledgement in everything that we do. Your parents could say whatever they like, but you sometimes need to hear it from somebody that doesn't know you. You sometimes need to hear it from somebody that you think is deemed as, and we use the term loosely, professional, because it then gives you that system to go, okay, what they've said and what this person said is the same. So I'm good. Like I'm good with the space.
Amazing, amazing. So, Sarah, tell me about what you do now because um I remember the first time we met in the Holt. I've actually got Leah coming on the podcast in a couple of weeks.
Love
That's
it.
going to be a spicy episode. Although I'm now telling you that, probably shouldn't have said that. Should have kept that a secret. But we met through the Holt.
You think it's hard trying to get a word in with me, you're gonna just open up your podcast and that's it. Like you're not gonna get a word in.
No, good. No, good. But that's what I love about it. I love it. I love hearing people's stories, and I mean, I've had to learn quite rapidly with the podcast that one, Andy, shut up because I like a chat, but two, also I have to sometimes rein people in because I'm like, shit, this is a 9 hour episode. So what you do now, um, when we first talked about it, the first conversation we were talking online, we were talking about limiting beliefs and that kind of thing, and the conversation came up of crystals, and I think I probably shocked you when I went, oh, I love my crystals.
You
Um,
didn't at all because that's
no,
the reason. Because I needed to say that so he could be in his space to be able to say, "Yep, this is me."
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. So yeah, what is K3 UK coaching, right?
So K3. So this is a really this is an interest. So I used to be a
Welcome
mechanic.
to part two.
Yeah, I used to be a mechanical engineer. That is what I am by trade. I'm a mechanical engineer. I am a solution focused, driven person that will look for problems and find outside of the box thinking to find the solutions for it. And I worked in oil and gas for 15 plus years, doing a really good job at the last job that I was in. I worked with cathodes, frequencies. I understood that there was frequencies that needed to be tuned to certain things in order to do certain things. I've always worked with that sort of premise. Same with I'm a petrol head. I love cars. Cars run a certain frequency. Yeah. If you hear a different noise from a nice gentle purr, there's something wrong with your car. That's a frequency you're hearing, right?
Mhm.
So I did that for many, many years. And then I moved into a transition of personal training because I went through a lot of personal things and I couldn't find somebody that could really support the things that I needed with my body and what I was going through. So I was like, if I can't find somebody, then I'll create somebody. What better than myself? Because then I can test everything on myself and make sure that it works and is creating the outcome that I want. And then from there, I kind of moved into very quickly a space where I understood people before they understood themselves. This is the reason why my old business was K3 Fitness, and I had a tagline of eat cake, feel great, and still lose weight. Like that was it. Everyone loved it
Nice.
because that was a thing. Like I would help you lose weight, feel great, and still be able to munch on whatever it is that you wanted. There wasn't the restrictions. Um, but something inside me got bored And whether that was the spiciness, whether that was because the passion and the discipline and the purpose had moved direction, or whether it was always there, but I needed to do this part first to feel confident and able to go into the next part. But I always understood people way before they understood themselves. So like people would come to me with problems, whether it was in the corporate world or training, and they'd be like, "Oh, I want to do this," and I'm like, "Okay, I know you're saying that, but I think this," and they'd be like, "No." And eventually, this would be the very thing that was causing them the issue. So fast forward K3 UK coaching. Now the K3 stands for my three kids. I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave this chaotic skid mark road trail of what I've done, how I've created it, so they never feel that they've been abandoned or rejected by me. They can always come and find a space where their chaotic mum is here, whether it's on a YouTube channel talking about PMDD in a TED talk, whether that's going onto Facebook and seeing me act like an absolute banshee, whether that's whatever it looks like and feels like, there is me everywhere for them. And I wanted to
Isn't that
make sure
weird as well? Because there isn't that for our parents, right? My mum and dad, they have old photos and stuff, but like, you know, just like, can you think of the power of like, you know, 50 years time, your great granddaughter
we'll
can
be able to
hear Sarah's voice.
I am.
Yeah, but do you imagine like being able to hear their voice, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is
Because my impression of my granddad has got more and more weird,
Scottish.
more and more Scottish, as I've got older. But like, he probably didn't even sound like that. I've probably like, do you know what I mean? But if I can hear it, imagine that. That'd be amazing. Sorry, carry
Uh,
on.
that was the reason why I created the name, because it was a legacy for my kids. On the back of it, I love the number 3. The 3 is all about communication, and it was one of the things that really drove me forward. Like, I can talk. I know things. I don't need to know things, but I know things. I'm classed as a clairsentient or claircognizant, so I just know things. I know things about you that you wouldn't have told anybody, and this is just part of what it was and who I was. So I
I
wanted to
think when
really
we
make.
first met, you told me I had an orange aura.
Yeah, well, it changes. Our auras change all the time depending on how we feel and what we've had kind of come in and come out at the moment. We can go into depths about that later. Anyway, so I did the KS3 and I was like, I want to leave a legacy for them, because not only that, it means that if they want to come and join part of the business, they can. Subsequently, we opened up a second business late last year called K3 Auto Center. We opened up a mechanics repair shop, my other half. So the K3 is growing. We have K3 UK Hire, where we hire Belten and things like. So it's growing in its magnitude of what it is, and it means that my kids will never ever feel the things I felt, because I don't want them feeling like they've ever been abandoned or rejected or are on their own. They will
Mhm.
always have things around them to do, to be, and they don't have to, but it's there.
I'm interested because I'm not going to take you off on a tangent, but were you an only child?
No, I wasn't. I am
Oh,
a
wow.
child. I'm a middle child. So
Oh,
I
okay.
have a brother who is 11 years older than me, and then I have no, 9 years older than me, and then I have a brother who is 15 years younger than me.
Oh, interesting. Oh, interesting.
But yeah, so I wanted to leave this. And with that, it then helped me create what K3 UK coaching is. Coaching isn't, I'm not a coach as such. What I do is I guide you, but I needed to make sure we used really easy words, because again, we look first, engage second, and then make a judgment. And I needed people to understand that what I was doing was supporting them. And when it comes to shall we use the word life coaching, that was probably the easiest word that I could simulate that would support people when they're looking for something. But I class myself as a spiritual engineer. I connect people from their disconnected souls and realign them and their purpose in order for them to really and truly understand why they're here, what they're here for, and how to make sure that they're staying on the right track. Because ultimately, we're here to follow the path of least resistance. But our brains create this absolute circus and goes, no, 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 you need to go and detour off here. We need to revalidate that reality that we did. We go back to that first conversation. We don't actually have a reality that we're supposed to. We're supposed to just experience things. We have a purpose and divine calling, but we get so caught up in our head and the responsibilities and the chaos of this is the thing that we're supposed to be defined by, that we lose the purpose, we lose the passion, and we lose that fire because we've just become so consumed by the next thing, the next external validation, the next external thing that we are supposed to aspire to. So I try and bring people back to it, but I do it in a way that isn't like counseling or therapy, both of which I'm qualified in. I do it in a way where I connect to you energetically and I pull those frequencies out and then I lay your shit bare. But I do it in my accent with my language, which, if we go back to your daughter, she was looking for that same thing. She was looking for somebody else to tell her the exact same thing that she'd heard from her parents to validate that it is okay. And this
Yeah.
is what I take these stories, I pull them out and I say, right, so this is what I'm feeling, and this is this, and this is this. And lots of people are like, oh my God, like, how did you know that? And I'm like, because you let me know. So
Mhm.
let's work on this and let's not make this a thing that you use as a part of your choices that you make because it doesn't need to be. This
I think
story,
connecting energetically is such a important thing because a lot of the time when I'm coaching people, I will be in a session with someone and you're just like, oh my God, like you can feel like and when people talk about like, energy and so forth, it's like have you ever done that thing where you hold your hand out and you think of something positive that you really want, and then you bring your hands together, and then you think of something really negative, and you're like, "Oh my God, you can't put your hands any closer." And it's really funny because when people talk about that, I've had people say to me, "Oh yeah, that energy stuff's bullshit." But you're like, "Okay, cool."
it's not though, because it's classed as kinesiology. It's a proven
Exactly.
scientific thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is the thing. So this is what I do. My human design dictates that I'm an investigator. I'm a 5-1 energy, which makes me a martyr and an investigator. So no matter what it is, I will tear the shit down and I will investigate it to its umpteenth degree and then I will rebuild it. And I
Amazing.
use the philosophy with my clients. I'm like, think of yourself as a house. I was like, if your foundations are built, it doesn't matter how shit they are, right? It can be full of inner child wounds, ancestral bullshit, trauma, challenge. It doesn't matter because nobody sees the foundations.
Hmm.
But if you're not willing to build something of substance, something of pure desire, your house is
Yeah.
always going to. So what we're going to do is we're going to break that house down, and we don't have to just break the whole house down to start with. We can just pick a room and redecorate it. Yeah. We don't even have to do a whole room. We can just pick a wall and make it a feature wall. We break it right down to the bare simplicity of what it is. But this is the same thing. This is ourselves. We're so defined by what we're supposed to do that we've forgotten what it is that we're actually supposed to do.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So when you work with people, so is it like a one-to-one type thing, or because I know you've got a launch that you're going through at the minute, is that right?
Yeah. So
Because I
we
I stupidly tried to get onto your live the other day, and I was halfway through, and I think I said to you, my daughter was having a bit of a meltdown, and I was actually trying to do everything the opposite of what I try and coach my clients in about work-life harmony. I had, like, my daughter doing one thing, I was trying to do something else, and I was like, "And I really wanna support Sarah and watch her live." Um, so unfortunately, you were the one that I had to come away from. Sorry.
But that's okay because for me, that is just your body and your soul trying to say to you right now, you need to make a decision that serves you.
Absolutely,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah, so I do work with clients one to one, but it is, and I'm not going to say this because this is scaremongery. It's a strict application only. I will assess you on a call because I need to make sure that you're ready for the work because a lot of the time I find that a lot of coaches or a lot of personal development spaces, they're literally just itching the scab. I'm literally saying we need to take that scab off and we need to see what's under that wound because
Mhm.
if it's infected, we need to clean it out before it can heal properly.
Yeah.
I'm not here to turn around and say I'm going to heal you full stop and you're going to move on and you're going to be this transformed version. You will
I
be on
I
an
always used to I always used to laugh at Paul McKenna because he used to, whenever he did anything, go, "You're healed. Well done. Thank you very much." And he'd be
yeah.
like, no, that didn't actually heal the person."
I just opened a whole other can of worms that they weren't used to. Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Although I always say that he's on my hit list of potential guests of the future, so I shouldn't be too rude.
yeah, man, that would be amazing. Oh my god, I'll help you. I'll bombard him with messages if we have to. But yeah, so I love that concept, but in the general consensus is I have to put you through a strict assessment because I need to know that you're ready to do the work. If I can see even 1 ounce of, that sort of, I'm not sure if this is, I will just turn around and say, look, I would rather signpost you to somebody else that I know is going to facilitate what it is that you think you need,
And I think
you
that's
know?
great because that's the same in the gym, isn't it? If someone comes in and they're really struggling with either a mental health condition or, I actually was talking about this to someone recently because there was a lady in the gym who was training who was quite heavily pregnant. And I was like, okay, do, do they know what to like look for? And I'm a massive, massive advocate for if you've always done it, keep bloody doing it when you're pregnant. But we won't go into that because that could probably spark off a whole world of hatred towards me. However, I think, it's like actually if I'm not the right person, I need to find the right person. I really admire that and what you've just said. So yeah, that's amazing. So tell me about this you got like a program that's coming out.
Yeah, so but going back, I think that's why I have so many beautiful coaches in my world because it
Mhm.
helps me signpost the right way. You
Yeah.
know, I if I was to put it just quickly on a basis, if 10 people came to me, the chances are I'd only take one, two, or three. So that's the amount of people that's coming through that I then just have to re-signpost or re-divert because I'm not going to waste your time, value, and financial commitment to something that I know is going to take you longer to get through. So yeah.
And also
Yeah,
and also if they're not going to do the work with the greatest respect,
value.
who doesn't want job satisfaction, right?
Yeah,
So you
exactly.
want to get people the best results you can, and if they're not prepared to show up, then you got to, yeah.
Yeah. The course that I'm doing, it's been a work in the making probably for about 3 years. I always said, oh, I'm not going to do passive work. It's always going to be kind of front and facing, and all the rest of it. But one of the biggest things that I recognize, especially with past clients, like we know when you do this work, you're never finished. Yeah. You're never finished. It's like a buffet. Even when you think you're full, give yourself 20 minutes, half an hour, and you're like, maybe I could just squeeze in a little pudding, you
Or
know?
a little like chicken wrap or something. That was me last
No,
night.
it's like that. When you start this work, you start to realize that you're constantly looking, craving, desiring, requiring more in
Hmm.
order to get to the deeper layers, right? No amount of person or coaches is going to get you down to the cruds and the bottom of the barrel every single opportunity. Layer that with different limiting beliefs and stories and traumas. You have like a plethora of chaos to work with. So one of the things that I recognized was one of the big key objectives that I work with a lot of my clients was the broader spectrum of limiting beliefs. And I've worked with them for such a long period of time now that I've managed to whittle them down that most people's thoughts, feelings, emotions, stories, experiences, traumas come under one of these 12 limiting beliefs. Now I work with science as well as, intuition and woo, if you like, or, spirituality. So I created this space where people can go through what is classed as core belief decoding for themselves. They go through it themselves first. They can go through every single limiting belief, and it ties in with EFT tapping, NLP, energy psychology, and chakras. So you learn all this stuff, but in a fast track way. Because one of the things that I recognized was I ain't here for the story dwellings. I'm like here. I need the actions. I need the steps. I need to just know what I need to know in order to get the results I need to get. And then if I show interest in something, then I'll go back and go, oh, well, I quite like that. So let me find out more about it. Let me
Hmm.
find out the history, how it came about. Let me find the papers and the scientific backup and all the rest of it. But right now, I just want to get the shit done. So that's how we created core belief decoding. We created it so you go through it yourself as a fast track course where you learn the basics and the nooks and crannies of all these different elements. And then what we do is, if you wish, don't have to, but we then support you on how to create the return of investment for a business. So we then help you on the other side and give you tools, tricks, options, and guidance for you to start up and do this for other people. So yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So how can people find out more about Sarah and her world and like what you do and how can people find out more about you?
I don't know. Good luck, because I've been trying to find me for a while.
Have you? Ah,
Um, If people want to know about the business, the best place to head to is k3ukcoaching.com. On there, we've got everything. We've got freebies, we've got the courses, the programs, things that we do, things that are upcoming. We've created it so you don't even have to be on the actual internet. So you can download an
Oh,
app,
wow. Amazing.
take the app with you. So it means that everything's there in a really easy one-click button. And on the Facebook pages or Instagram as well, it's K3UK Coaching. I've made this really simple, really easy, so people know where it is. So yeah, just have a look, see what you can find, and see what tickles your pickle and what floats your boat, and everything else just leave behind.
Love that. Sarah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I know this isn't goodbye because I will no doubt see you in the next couple of days online somewhere. But yeah, thank you so much. I also want to thank you for raising awareness of so many different things that I think so many people will be able to, there will be something on this podcast today that there will be someone who will resonate with something that you've said. And it might not be PMDD, but it might be something else that actually has given them the space to open up and talk about stuff. And I just think that's just a beautiful thing. So yeah, thank you for that. You're amazing.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me, Andy.
And that wraps up today's episode of the Coffee, Chaos and Confidence podcast with me, Coach Casey. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure you like and subscribe. It helps other listeners find the show. Also, go and check out the show notes to learn more about my incredible guests. Until next time, make sure you chase your dreams without limitations.